I'm back again. Okay, so got my phone charging, so I can't put it in my tissue box like I normally would. Maybe a little more light than that. Yes, thank you. Okay, just I'm exhausted. I'll try and be fast. I'll try and be functional. I'll say what I need to say. I can't. There's no way. I just got done with the grocery store. Sorry. I just got done with the grocery store, and I just want to put this, include this in the message, simply because it was packed. Like, you could almost not get down the aisles. But funny thing, right through the checkout, right through, like super fast. I even told the fella Matt, I said, I'm impressed. He said, yeah, that's what I said, usually there's lines, and he said, yeah, we're trying to avoid that issue. Anyway, all right, so back to I guess this is technically part 3, because I believe this is going to end up being 3 videos. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I'm just going to restart this part just because. Why some people are not calling back, messaging back. When the phone rings or a message comes in, then that is the moment of need or of requirement, because that is when a request has been made. If the receiving person is unsure of how to answer the call or the message, then they may not answer, telling themselves that they will reply later. The brain then detaches from the need, and since there is no additional reminder in our phone, it's out of sight, out of mind. By the time they might remember, the brain says they waited too long. The one-shot clock thing again. Okay, now speaking from an imbalanced point of view, the receiver does remember and does want to respond, usually several times. However, they just can't. Something in the brain is stopping them, detaching them. See depression. We talked about that one already. Or at least a little bit. Okay, expecting someone to do something without being asked. Okay, for as much as it may seem obvious to some people that some help might be needed, for other people it's not as obvious. Unless a request is made by name and with specifics, then there is no requirement that needs to be met or served. People are not mind readers after all. This is my short version. This is my functional, get to the point, or at least try to get to the point more so, explanations. Not the greatest, because actually my emotional version explanation of this actually has a little bit more explanation to it, and so it's a little bit more clear on, like we've all been in situations where we went to the grocery store and we get back home and we've got our hands are full of groceries and we're trying to get through the door and someone's just standing there and you're like, do I have to give you an invitation? What? You can't open the door or take bags from me? You can't offer help at all? Did you specifically ask for it? Them by name? No? Then no. They're not going to do it. And it's not because they're being rude. It's not because, I know that's always my go-to as well. Like, seriously, is there something wrong with you that you can't see this? No, there's nothing wrong with them. Just because my brain is different than that person's brain doesn't make them wrong. And it doesn't make me wrong either. See, we're both right. You're okay, I'm okay. Oh, gosh, never mind. I don't want to say that. Anyway, yeah, if you don't ask somebody specifically to do something, then they don't know. They're not mind readers. Just because it looks like they need help or you need help doesn't mean you do. In fact, haven't there been times in your own life where, like where you saw where you thought someone needed help, so you stepped in to help them, and the person turned around, looked at you and said, what are you doing? No. I didn't ask you to help. That's not how that's supposed to be done. Right? So, can you blame that other person for not helping if you haven't actually asked them to do so? I mean, they're kind of avoiding a situation like you actually got yourself into. Ha ha ha. Just saying. Anyway, all right. Why are you shy or someone you know shy? You may want to socialize because other people tell you to do so, that you should, or because you actually do want to talk to other people, but something just stops you. The answer again, it's not about what you want. It's about what the brain needs. And the stronger the functional side, especially, it's more about need, not want. Does the brain need to talk to those people? Do they do something for you, such as feed you, clothe you, pay for you, service you in some way? If the answer is no, then that's why you don't talk to them. It's not about wanting to talk to them. It's about, does your brain feel you need to? Or does your brain think you need to, I should say, because feel, be emotional, think would be more functional, I guess. We'll say it that way. Okay, so the answer is because you don't need to talk to them. Unless there is a reason, one that makes sense, then you're not going to talk to them. It's just how it works. Now, imbalanced situations are a little bit different because now you can have people who are actually stronger emotionally but are shy. Well, that could be because of an imbalance. Or it could just be that functional side of them is a little stronger. There's ways of being able to tell, but again, unless people are actually listening to these videos and actually, taking in the information and interested, I'm not going to make a bunch of these videos like this. I'll answer questions if people ask them. Let's see. Oh, addictions and why they sometimes happen. This is just one of the examples. What better way to understand someone's journey than to walk in their footsteps? For example, the child of addict parents may have unanswered questions stuck in their head. As the child grows older, they learn about their parents' addiction but still have those unanswered questions. At some point, the brain begins to follow either their parents' lifestyle or a similar one. In order to, seeing is believing, that's a very important part of it actually, answer those questions. These questions might be along the lines of, like, what happened, what was more important than them. Parents, they look at their kids and say, oh, you're the most important thing in the world, things like that, and then walk out the door. And then this kid is left wondering where they went. Well, when it's work or school or wherever, there's usually proof of this, for one. Evidence, like, if they went to work, guess what? The lights still turn on and there's food in the kitchen. So kids do learn over time when parents go to work, this equals we get this, we have this. When they go to school, this means there's a backpack sitting on the floor with books in it. Different things like that. When there's no answer, then the child's left going, where'd you go? What happened? And then as they grow older, they might find out where they went, which still leaves the question, but why? But why? You hear kids say it all the time. Why? Why? Right? Can you imagine an inquisitive little kid standing at the door going, but why are you leaving me again? What's so important out there? So in order to get that answer, sometimes we have to follow in the footsteps. Anyway, that's just one reason for it. But okay, so for the functional version, that's it. In conclusion, I should mention that all this information is opinion-based. None of what I have said is a fact, just observations. Again, not a doctor, not a therapist. I went to college and took Intro to Psych 1 and 2. I remember 2 things from it. And that's the dog conditioning, blowing the whistle, ringing the bell, and then and self-fulfilling prophecy. Consciously, those are the only 2 things I remember. I'm sure subconsciously I might remember a few other things, but not a whole lot. Anyway, but other than that, not really. So let's see here. Now, whereas I do believe that I am onto something, unfortunately, there are gaps in my knowledge. It's true. And especially when it comes to the functional side and how it behaves. Because if you couldn't tell, I'm an emotionalist. Big shocker, right? Yeah. So I do have a lot. I can understand the functional side because I have a functional side too. I can understand it maybe a little bit more than I normally should be able to. That could be because I've been imbalanced. Who knows? But there's definitely a lot for me to learn. Actually, I was thinking about it earlier. I think that both sides are just as aware. The difference is, this is going to sound crazy, I think. The difference is, even if a person who's more functional is using their imagination, I don't think they're always aware of it. I think sometimes they are. And I think there's times that they're not always aware of it. Just like for an emotionalist, I'm sure there's times where we're quite aware we're using our imagination, but I'm sure there's probably times we're not so aware of it. And I say that because there are times I can actually feel, I said this is going to sound crazy, I can actually feel like my mind is watching movies, creating what if scenarios and stuff. I have no clue what it's seeing. It's like walking past a movie theater and you can hear the noises and the vibrations of the speakers going brrr, brrr, but you have no clue what these people are watching or what's going on. So it's kind of like that. I'm wondering if that's how it is, because the functional side is the more quiet, keep to itself side. Doesn't speak unless it needs to. And that has to make sense as well when it does speak. So, and I know there's times, like I said earlier in the video, there is possibly a way that I might be able to teach people to be able to see that when they're using their functional versus their emotional side, like it actually, not just the equals information, but actually to know what side of your brain is actually kind of working at that moment, even though it's being quiet. Yeah. So I shouldn't say, because that's kind of like a dead giveaway as to what it's doing. Anyway, it's tricky, and until you actually understand a little bit more of how the theory would work, I wouldn't be able to explain it to you. Actually, I take that back. You know those times where you're sitting there and all of a sudden out of the clear blue, you'll have this really great idea, a super great idea. It's either an invention, or it's just some kind of an idea, or it might be that you have to talk to somebody and you're kind of nervous about talking to them because they're sometimes a little difficult to talk to. So you're thinking, oh, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? And all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, without even thinking about it, this just comes to you. And it's just the right information. And here's the thing. It's clear, it's concise, and it's very simple. It's you, like me, I can take paragraphs and paragraphs to explain something, or I could take maybe a couple sentences. Same information, way less explanation. So when that happens, if you don't write it down then and there, use that information then and there, you usually forget it, don't you? And even if you do, you still don't usually always remember it in its complete, the way when it first came to you, right? Later on, you recall it and there's more words and you've lost a little bit of the meaning. Some of it's still there. It's different for everybody. Some people have more difficulty recalling it. Some people have less difficulty, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so that would be the functional side. And that's one of the reasons why you can't recall it as much later on, is because the more of an emotional person that you are, hold on, what's the better way to word this? It speaks when it needs to. It doesn't repeat itself. The functional side does not repeat itself unless it needs to, because it makes sense to do so. And just because you want to recall the information doesn't mean that your brain agrees with that. The functional brain, it needs to feel it needs to. Just because you're like, oh man, how did I say that earlier? It was perfect. I got to remember it. What was it? I can't. Just because you're freaking out because you really want that information again doesn't mean the functional side feels the need to share it. That's how it works. Sorry. But that's what's speaking at that time. When that perfect, clear, concise, very simple way of putting something comes to you. That's typically your functional side. Who would have thought, right? Anyway, I don't know. I'm debating if I should actually put this up on YouTube or not, because it's in 3 parts and I do kind of run off on a tangent, but most likely I would always run off on a tangent anyway, so who knows? Who cares? So anyway, so I still have quite a bit to learn, and I invite anyone's comments and insights that anyone wishes to share, as well as I thank you for your time. So yeah, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can ask me. Other than that, thank you for listening. Bye.